Hey there, Oz.
Hey there, Curtis.
Hey, what movie we watching this week?
This week I decided we'd just watch every 80s movie I enjoyed growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Summer School, Back to the Future, Just One of the Guys, Valley Girl, Friday the 13th Part 2, Real Genius, The Wraith.
Part 2.
Yeah, Part 2. Part 2. No, this week we're going to watch April Fool's Day. Yeah, it's like we talked about it last week that it's like there's a lot of 80s that guy and that girl in this movie. Mm-hmm. But again, you have to have seen a lot of 80s movies
to get the bit,
to recognize all these people, because these people aren't in your Tom Cruise 80s movies. They're not in your Harrison Ford 80s movies. They're in that lower tier.
Yeah.
They're not even in your what's the dude's name? I knew I'd draw a blank on it. That's all he did was 80s teen movies. John Hughes.
There you go. Yeah.
Like they're not even in your John Hughes 80s movies. They're just in that just those teen 80s movies. That
nobody's showing up in Cocktail.
Exactly. Although, I mean, we do get a Biff Tannen. But everybody else
that's the exception.
But everybody else
we get a Biff.
Yeah. And, we got, didn't she work with Nick Cage? Yeah, she did. But other than that,
we get an Action Jackson. Action Jackson.
But everybody else is just there. So, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to, oh man, I'm just off this morning. Welcome back to another episode. Let's talk about flicks, the podcast where we take a monthly theme. This month is a new theme. It's a holiday horror month, where
'tis the season for a holiday horror.
'Tis the season to be killing.
'Tis the season for death.
Now, each week this month we are going to cover a different holiday themed horror film. Not all of them Christmas.
Yes, as we established last week, it is we are talking about movies featuring a holiday, not capital T, the holidays.
The holidays. So I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
I am the other host, Curtis.
And we definitely want to give a shout out to our holiday favorites: Don S., Aaron A., Mandy K., Melissa L., Colin K., and Lyle M. Thank you guys for your Patreon subscriptions.
Yes, thank you, one and all.
Yep. So, April Fool's Day, a movie that I have seen countless times.
Yes, this is another Oz favorite. I have seen once, and that was about a week ago when I watched it.
Yeah, it was just one of those that it was on HBO a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's more than likely where I caught it. Was HBO a lot.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah. And it's got some twists, but again, it's a movie called April Fool's Day. It come out late March of '86, in line with April Fool's Day, which good for you. I mean,
got some super fun box art.
Yeah, and that was probably one. And again, this goes back to stuff we've talked about before. Walking around
the video store,
80s era video stores where you're designing like baby posters.
Yeah.
And you've got to try to catch the viewer, your customer's eye. And so 80s box art, especially in the horror section, was just top notch, because you had to do something to get that person to pick up your box.
Yeah. And this one worked. It's the hair tied in a noose with a knife behind the back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the, don't judge a book by its cover, but I'm going to judge the movie by its cover.
Yeah. Fun movie, fun box art.
Yeah. So,
shall I get into the characters?
Yeah. I've got the plot of this film.
It's your week to host, so I got the characters. I'm just gonna run down. We got Muffy / Buffy. Spoiler alert: Saint John. Muffy, played by Deborah Foreman, the Valley Girl's own Deborah Foreman.
Yep.
She's the main character, the host of Fantasy Island here.
Pretty much, yeah.
or was it 30 Rock did their own version of like the whole like sexy 20 somethings, and 30 Rock's version was called Intercourse Island.
Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, it's
really what it is.
It's probably more realistic than what they call it.
They had Rob Hoibel as the host of Intercourse Island.
Intercourse Island.
Who's gonna have intercourse at Intercourse Island? So we got Buffy St. John. We've got Harvey Edison Jr.
Call me Hal.
Call me Hal, played by Jay Baker. We got Deborah Goodrich as Nikki Brashears. Ken Olant as her boyfriend Rob Ferris. I think heir of the Ferris wheel line.
Rob was
Am I getting mixed up already?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easy to do in this one.
Yeah,
Chaz and Nikki went together.
That's right. Chaz and Nikki, Kit and Rob. There we go. Okay. Thank you for the clarity. Again, I'm gonna blow one of my possible bads. I had a hard time keeping up with some of the character names.
Yes, I've seen this movie several times, and their names are so inconsequential. Yeah, but they use them all the time.
Yeah, it's like I got that they're trying to reinforce that, but it still didn't work for me.
Well, you've got especially Rob and Chaz.
Yeah,
for some reason they're just easily interchangeable.
Yeah,
like there's not like I didn't get Rob and Arch confused.
Yeah.
But it's Rob and Chaz are the two that it's tough to keep.
Well, straight. I mean, they, similar looks, similar frames. And... Yeah. We got Griffin O'Neill as Skip St. John. Skip. What's Skip short for? Skipford.
Yeah. Malou.
Skip Malou. We got Leah Pinsent as Nan Youngblood. Poor Nan.
Nan. Yeah, I did feel bad for Nan in this movie.
Poor Nan. She got it the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Clayton Rohner is Chaz Wyszynski of the famous Wyszynskis.
Right, this trapeze group.
Yeah. Amy Steele as the aforementioned Kit Graham. Thomas F. Wilson, Biff himself, as Arch Cummings. And then we've got a constable, we got a ferryman, we've got others. But yeah. But that's the main troop there, though. All the kids, all the early 20-somethings. Fresh out of college, sweaters tied around their necks.
Yeah, There we are. We are looking at April Fool's Day weekend, a big holiday weekend in the New England states, which this movie gives off those vibes that's where they are.
It definitely does.
These are New England.
Bunch of rich kids.
Yeah.
Particularly Muffy.
I think they filmed it. They thought about filming it in Martha's Vineyard, but they shot it in Vancouver Island in Victoria, but it still has that Martha's Vineyard feel. Yeah,
that's the vibe that they're giving off, and they nailed it.
They nailed it. Yeah. You've been up that area. I've not, but
I've never been to Martha's Vineyard.
I've been to Maine.
You've
been to the Northeast, so. But yeah, so
hey, we weekend at Martha's Vineyard.
We've driven through there on a Saturday.
Yeah. Patreon subscriber Melissa L goes by Muffy for short.
It's true. I've heard you call her that multiple times.
Yeah,
I didn't know who you're talking to. But...
Yeah, Muffy and I take the old private jet up to Martha's Vineyard.
It works. But we're up in Martha's Vineyard area. April Fool's Day weekend, and we got a bunch of friends, all of them, really.
Yeah,
Harvey, Nikki, Rob, Skip, Nan, Chaz, Kit, Arch, like
all one syllable names.
It's like I'm playing Guess Who. And so they're all making their way to the ferry. Mm-hmm. They show up in approximately the same time.
Sure.
But enough difference to where we're not thrown 8 or 9 characters at once. We get them getting out of their cars. So it's like I like how they at least paired them off to where we're introduced to them a couple at a time.
A few at a time. Again, the movie, this is probably more an indictment of me and my memory. Again, the movie did try to like, okay, here's so-and-so.
Right, they did.
Hey, Harv.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. Like,
how you doing, Harv?
I joked last week, in Mortal Kombat that they were intentionally using full character names just so that you knew who aligned with what. This movie did a lot of the same thing. It's a lot of name dropping, but this opening fairy scene was very like Royal Rumble-esque. Every couple of minutes, someone's theme music,
someone runs in.
And so, we get them all on the ferry. They're all going to Muffy's island mansion. Skip is there. Skip is Muffy's cousin. We haven't seen Muffy yet. Nope. But she's at the mansion.
She's making preparations,
right,
with mannequins.
Yes, we're seeing her stage the house. We don't know what for, but she's staging the house. She comes across an old Jack in the Box, which again, this movie is called April Fool's Day.
Yes,
and it very, very obviously lets you know that every April Fool's joke you've ever heard of is going to be
it's got to be there.
And so we get
I love at the beginning when she's in the basement, like cleaning out, and she's talking to she's talking to somebody.
It was the maid,
the
Clara.
Yeah. It's gonna be better than nice. It's going to be bloody unforgettable.
Right. What's gonna happen?
I know.
But again,
right?
we know we're watching a horror film. I mean, you don't accident.
Yeah, you got the noose hair and the knife behind the back.
Exactly. And so, the house clears out. Muffy awaits their arrival. Again, we get this throwback scene to this wraparound Jack in the Box that she got as a child at her birthday party. She cranks it or whatever. And we talk about Jack in the Box, one of the worst gift ideas ever.
Yeah.
As I'm watching this, I'm like, man, toys back in the old days sucked. Like, I got you a Jack in the Box. What do you do with a Jack in the Box? A second time. Like,
oh man, it got me good the first time. It's going to get me better the second time.
Like the novelty's there for one, but once it's okay, this will now sit and collect dust. But of course, this Jack in the Box, instead of having like this, cute little clown or something pop up, it's got like some ghouly looking, and the whole family's laughing because haha, your birthday is
ha 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 frightened you, little girl.
we collectively punked this kid on her birthday.
Then they smash her face into the cake.
And so everybody's, they're making their way over on the ferry. We meet, the grizzled old ferry, the ferry driver, and a lot of them know each other. Most of them know each other.
Most of them do, yeah.
Hal is from college. Nan is from college. But Hal and Nan don't know each other from college, from Vassar.
It's a big, Vassar, that's right.
Yeah. So they know her from Vassar. Hal's all about, hey, he's some Southern idiot, and Muffy's rich, so
digging his thumbs into his suspender.
Yeah, he hasn't aged. He's not old enough for suspenders yet, but he's right up there.
I'm a simple country Harvey.
Right. It's like Foghorn Hal here.
I say.
It's very caricature. So he's really just like, Muffy's got money, and I want to impress her so that maybe I can get in on some of it. And everybody's just kind of feeling each other out. But
Harvey wanted to feel out Muffy.
Yeah, well, not yet. Harvey wanted to feel out just about anybody.
Yeah.
Nikki was like decided to sunbathe on April Fool's Day weekend. In the Northeast.
Great atmosphere for it.
Unseasonably warm that weekend.
It's a sunny 86 at 6:30 in the morning in Massachusetts.
Yeah, she had her bathing suit on under her clothes. Like this was intended.
She was ready to go.
How long's this ferry ride? 20 minutes. We'll catch some rays. Like
tears it off like a onesie.
Exactly. And so Skip and Arch decide to play.
Just laughing at the name. Skip, Arch.
Skip and Arch.
Skip and Arch.
They play a game called Stretch, where
I think he was there. He was there too.
Stretch,
yeah.
Axe and smash and crush.
We're demolition.
but they're playing stretch, which is basically like Twister with a switchblade.
Yeah.
You throw it, and then you can't move your feet. You have to try to reach it from where you're standing. They get mad at each other. Like Skip tosses the knife to Arch. Arch then just throws it right back at Skip, and it like sticks in his belly. Everybody freaks out and overreacts.
Mm-hmm.
He falls into the water. They dive in after him. I know Chaz. It does. Oh, no, Rob and
Chaz.
Rob and Buck.
It
doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, Buck's in, because Buck's in there because of what happens next.
Yeah. So Rob and Buck jump in after Skip. Turns out it was
this movie's got no time to waste. Only one syllable names.
They built it. They built it for podcasting.
They did. It's gonna play great in the short version of our videos,
right? And so they dive in after Skip. Turns out it was a fake knife. Joke's on you guys.
Fake belly.
Yeah, fake Skip.
Fake Arch.
They never even got on the ferry. It's all a hologram.
They're waving from the dock half a mile away.
Have fun, guys. You got you good.
Me, Arch.
And so, joke's on them. Haha, April Fools. And Buck stays in the water because the ferry's getting close.
Yeah.
So we catch him it was kind of a tension building scene. Mm-hmm. They kept cutting in between playing stretch and like trying to lasso the knuckle for to tie the boat on. It was just kind of
while the boat is getting closer, like it's like the pier, like the pillar, and then Buck, and then this giant boat is getting closer. It's
right.
Like, oh, he's gonna get crushed.
Yeah, and Buck's just trying to like throw the rope up onto the knuckle so they could tie the boat off because apparently the boat's a wild stallion, and if you don't, it's going to run off on its own.
He had one hand.
Right.
This movie was actually a prequel to 8 Seconds with Luke Perry.
That movie is so dumb. We just lost all our viewers too.
Or gained. I think we just doubled our Patreon right there.
There you go.
With a timely reference to 8 Seconds.
Right. There's not enough Luke Perry references on our show.
Not enough.
And so, yeah, the ferry boat ends up crushing Buck against the pier.
Ow.
Again, he comes swimming out, and of course his face is all grisly.
Just disfigured. It's not like crushed.
No.
It's not like it crushed his skull. It just peeled the skin off of his face.
And like dug in and tore. So that he gets...
I think they were a tag team in the late 80s.
Dug in and tore.
Dug in and tore.
It was Hacksaw, and then
Hacksaw and Paul Roma, I think.
Yeah. It was Hacksaw was dug in, and then it was just some guy in a loincloth is tore.
It was Hercules, I think it was.
It was the Berserker.
Huss.
It was Tor.
Hacksaw
and the Berserker dug in and tore.
Dug in and tore.
And so
didn't they wrestle the Boss Man and Akeem at
they did, yeah.
WrestleMania 5? I think
they did.
I think so. Yeah.
It was one of those dark matches before the show started, but they were there. Yeah,
they were there. Sure they were.
So Buck, naturally in hysterics, gets onto the dock, and he's like the Tasmanian devil. He's just screaming and spinning and yelling at everybody's trying pretty much. Yeah, the constable, who apparently was on a break because all this is happening, is his boat. His boat's like 18 feet away.
Yeah, it just happens to be right there.
Doesn't hear any of this screaming and hollering. Someone, constable. So he drives his boat over,
flicks his Marlboro 100 into the lake.
They throw Buck into the boat. The ferryman then takes the boat. I don't know why the constable didn't take it, but wasn't supposed to, I guess. And off they go. So Buck and the ferryman. What was the ferryman's name? Just ferryman. Yeah. Buck and the ferryman are gone. And just And everybody's
Ferryman was the last name.
Right.
He also had it's like Kip.
It's Michael Ferryman.
Michael Ferryman. There you go. He was just there as himself.
Yeah, it's just me, Michael Ferryman. Yeah. He lost out on a lot of roles in like Weird Science and Hills Have Eyes to that other Michael Berryman.
Michael
Berryman. And so now everybody's like serious now because like they were horsing around and look what happened to Buck. So it's like, and even the constable's like, that's enough screwing around. Like, look what you guys just did.
Yeah, that guy just got his face torn off.
Right.
Done torn off.
It's done. And so, I mean, there's now just a real somber mood across the board. And then Muffy shows up. Hey everybody. Like, what's up?
Who's ready to party?
And quickly everyone's like, who's Buck? Like, like what just happened? None of them register again ever.
Well, except Skip. Skip is really upset about it.
Skip is upset. Yeah. And so we get there, and Muffy's like, when I turn 21 next week, I get this house in my inheritance, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't really matter. No. Like
unnecessary exposition.
Yeah, I just wanted you guys all here with me so we can enjoy. Okay, fine. Like it's a very, very flimsy reason why Muffy's like, hey, you guys want to come to my island mansion and everyone's like, yes. Like I've got nothing else to do on my break. We will come from all corners of the earth to come see Muffy on her island just because she asked. Like, there's really no reason to be there other than just we're there. And so we get a series of just pranks.
Yeah.
Everybody sits down to eat and everybody sits on a whoopee cushion. They all you know how I feel about like toasts to friendship. Toasts in general, I think, are a little cringy.
Sure.
But I get it if it's like in someone's memory or whatever. Like, but
when there's a specific, like an event or an occasion. Yeah, but let's toast to friendship.
I do, but I'll give Deborah Foreman props though. Like she embodies her character Muffy as somebody who would enjoy toasting to friendship. Like she does play that part well. But yeah,
they all lift their shirts and show their tummies and do a Care Bear care stare.
Exactly. I've got no space in my life to be at a table when people are like, let's have a toast to friendship. And
let's have a toast to peace.
Like I'm gonna get out of here. Like I don't want to be part of your group. If we're toasting to friendship, count me out. Like
I'm done.
It's so it doesn't make any sense to me. I just don't get it.
Nope.
But she uses it as
I gotta remember next time we're in each other's presence.
Please do.
Pardon me, everyone. Pardon me.
Can I get everyone's attention?
Let's ting 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 ting. Let's raise a glass to the power of friendship.
Well, first, you have to provide exposition as to how powerful our friendship is. And,
as friends for 26 years, met all the way back in Macomb, Illinois.
But
at Wetzel 6. Oh, Wetzel 6. What grand times we had at Wetzel 6.
And while that building is no longer, our friendship has persevered.
Endured.
Oh my! I would then retoast, and we would just keep this toast going for an hour.
A toast to toasting.
Yeah, I would like to toast to being toasted. They should flip that. They should have Comedy Central toasts instead of roasts.
Instead of just toasts that just keep going.
Everybody just speaks high volumes of everyone on stage.
It's just long forms sketch comedy. It's just
I would be there for it.
I would rather watch that than the roast.
Yeah. I the roasts have their moments, but I'm like,
sure,
it's just mean. Like, mean to be just, especially when most of the people on stage do not even know each other or interact with each other's circles.
But as part of the bit, they have to rip on each other.
Yeah, it's like they invited me here because I'm Jeffrey Ross. Like, I rip on people. I don't know you, but
A toast to Nikki Glaser.
Yeah.
St. Louis's finest.
Right. Oh, what would the world be without Nikki Glaser? So, but we get a series of just pranks. We get, like I said, the whoopee cushion.
Yeah.
We get, after they toast, everyone's got like a hole in their cup, so they'll dribble down the front of them. Mm-hmm. They all head to their rooms, and in their rooms it's like inverse Clue.
Yeah.
Like, here's all of these things, like, and Hal like grabs a bunch of cigars from the table, and he smokes one and gets Daffy Ducked, mm-hmm. and blows up in his face. There's a baby crying in Nan's room, and she finds a tape recorder. Like, one of them has like a bunch of like heroin
needles. I think it's right. Biff.
Yeah, and broken doorknobs and collapsible chairs, and.
Yeah. But some of them are just your classic pranks, but some of them dig a little deep, like the Nan.
Yeah, the Nan. And of course, we find out later, completely unintentional, but still hurts. I was a little disappointed to see that none of my April Fool's pranks were highlighted in the show. The lay saran wrap outside of your bedroom door and cover it in honey.
Yeah.
That wasn't there. Lock the bathroom door, so then you have to go downstairs to use that one. I don't remember. Did I rubber band the? I wanted to. If I didn't, I wanted to rubber band the like spray gun of the sink to where when you turn the water on.
I think you did at one point,
and then it sprayed you. And then in the meantime, while that was all done, I went and put hangers underneath your sheets in your bed, so that when you went back to your room and laid down for the evening, you would have a very uncomfortable bed to sleep in. Yeah. To friendship.
to friendship. To the enduring love of friendship.
Exactly. And so, we just get a bunch of this stuff, right? And so everybody but again, it's April Fool's, so, they realize everybody could be victimized here. Mm-hmm. Skip goes for a walk, and he goes out to the boathouse because he was supposed to. And we see him get like attacked from the backside. Yep. It's all in shadow, but we see Skip is apprehended by something.
The classic hand over the mouth and like pull back out of frame.
Right, and that's all we see of Skip.
Yep. We don't see harm come to him.
No, we don't see harm come to any of them, really. Yeah. Foreshadowing. We get some deeper character stuff out of some. Kit's super happy for Rob and about applying to medical school. Rob, puts him on the spot to talk about it. Rob reveals, my advisor doesn't think I'm serious enough, so I can't apply.
That really shook him.
Yeah.
Basically, somebody like a mentor figure told him, like, you're not capable of doing this thing that you dream of doing. And
right.
Yeah, Rob was kind of a shell of himself. Not that we knew him too much beforehand, but
right. But yeah, it's just it really depressed him.
Yeah.
Understandably so. But I think to a point it kind of shows you a little bit about Rob, because it's like, just because somebody doesn't here's an opportunity for you to rise up and prove them wrong too.
Yeah.
But you're like, I guess I shouldn't. I guess I can't apply to medical school.
Back to ditch digging for me.
Yeah, John said I can't. But Kit, of course, Kit's like super excited for him. So, like you said, he's in a shell. Kit and Rob are out for a walk, and she's trying to cheer him up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, meanwhile, nobody else has seen Skip. So the group kind of separates. You got, Chaz and Arch and Hal, I think. They all separate, let's go find Skip. This isn't like Skip. So they take off, they split up, and they go run around the island.
Mm-hmm.
Kit is like, you know what? There's an empty boathouse here, and I just happen to be in a bathing suit. So let's go cheer Rob up.
Let me lay down this hand towel.
And so she lays it down, and then she lays herself down, and then Rob lays himself down. And as Rob is beginning to cheer up, she looks over and she's she sees Skip's dead, water bloated body floating under the floorboards on a boat. Rob sees it too, so Rob gets let down for the second time in this movie. So, but they can't find Skip. Like, they saw the boat and they ran back to the group, but they can't find Skip.
They come back and he's not there. Yeah, body's gone.
And so, so again, they thought they saw his body, and while everyone else is split up, Arch is out looking on his own, and he ends up in the woods. We get, there's this coiled up snake that he just keeps walking by, like,
and doesn't notice.
Apparently Arch thought he was in the right spot because he didn't leave the spot. He just kept pacing back and forth in front of the snake. Ends up stepping in like a hunter's noose, gets strung up by the ankle. The snake just keeps striking at him.
Yeah.
It's a pretty like tense scene because I hope he didn't get him.
I don't know how many venomous snakes there are in Martha's Vineyard.
One.
That one.
And we don't see Arch again. We see him get strung up, and then we see someone approach him. Again, we don't see who it is, but then we don't see Arch again. Nan just goes missing. Like, I've seen this movie so many times, and I never remember when, because everybody gets the vibe that she is really interested in Muffy. Muffy, at this point, the night before, everybody's having a good old time. Wake up the next morning, and they go downstairs, and Muffy's making herself breakfast. But Muffy is like very distraught. Hair's all blown out. Like, she just very, they may even make the joke of like, who rocked her world kind of thing. She runs off. So she's really acting out of sorts. Nan is very beside herself because she doesn't know anybody there but Muffy. She's kind of giving everybody the vibes that she's into Muffy. And so Nan she sees, she sees Muffy like going out to some outbuilding and she like follows her, and then we don't see Nan again. I keep clearing my throat. Sorry.
It's just Nan's story is so just gets you choked up.
It's like they hired her and they were like, "Oh, I don't even know what we're gonna do with her. Just have her sit in the background until we need her." And so again, now we're down Skip, we're down Arch, we're down Nan, and everybody's still kind of looking around because again,
they still haven't quite recognized what's happening.
So Arch and Nan are gone, and they recognize that they're also gone. But again, they're like, nobody's thinking foul play at this point. Yeah. They're just like, this is just odd. So Nikki and Hal go look. They come across a well.
Little Timmy fell in.
It's kind of a fun like gender like stereotype switch here. As Nikki's like, why don't you climb down there, Hal? And he's like, I'm not going down there. Why don't you go? And she's like, okay. Like, Nikki's pretty fearless. So she climbs down the rungs of this ladder. Naturally, she falls in to the well because the ladder breaks. Yeah. She sees Skip's body. She sees Arch's head. Yeah. Is Skip's head, Arch's head, and Nan's body.
Yeah, Nan's body.
So then, now they're all shook, right? So the rest of the group members are there in the mansion. They're freaking out, understandably so.
Yeah.
Phone lines are down. The ferry's gone. Like, we're stuck here.
They're stuck there for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah. We come across, just different things. Like, despite all this going on, like, Chaz is still like, hey, Nikki, let's use this S&M gear that was left in our room. She, of course, was
speaking of getting murdered.
Right. Whoever's doing the stabbing's not doing it right. And so, she leaves because she's like, no, you're disgusting. Like, not now. Comes back and he's had his nether regions apparently cut off. We don't really get a vibe. He's laying back. He still has on like a gimp helmet.
Yeah. But his hands are covering his groin.
Right. And so she moves the hands and there's just blood there. And apparently that's instant death for a man.
I'd rather be dead.
Like, it was cut off and then he just died out of embarrassment.
Oh man, this is so embarrassing.
His eyes just turned to X's. And so, so that and then as she's reacting to Chaz, somebody steps out from behind the doorway. Nikki sees it. We don't see what happens. Like, there's just a lot of like off-screen death.
Yes. And again, so you don't see a lot happen.
No. And so
which is atypical of most 80s slasher
very
films.
Atypical.
Yeah.
And so we're down to like Hal, Rob, and Kit, and they come across Hal had hung himself, or had been hung. Yes. He didn't hang himself. He'd been strung up. And so we're just down to Rob and Kit. And so naturally they're trying to survive. Like, they're outside, and then they realize we got to get back inside because we've got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Let's go into this basement window. Well, while they're in the basement, they uncover the truth that, Muffy has a insane, violent twin sister, Buffy, who's escaped.
Scruffy.
right. Jiffy.
Jiffy. Tuffy. You remember Cubs outfielder?
Tuffy Rhodes.
Tuffy Rhodes.
Yeah,
I remember the first game. It was like the '92 season. He had 3 home runs.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Opening day, and then nothing.
Right,
that was it. That was his career.
Maybe had 3 the remainder of the season.
Yes, yeah. Tuffy Rhodes.
Yeah, he was. That gave a lot of hope to Cubs fans. Chicago sports are good at that. Like, I like to tease.
Well, at the time of this recording, we're about 24 hours removed of the Bears firing Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, and they still fumbled that.
Like, yeah, they did. I was actually in the car yesterday as that happened, and they were talking about, like, Eberflus addressed the media.
Yeah, he had a press conference.
Yeah, and then an hour later, after addressing the media, they fired him. Like, how? Oh. And he deserved. Yeah, it was time to let him go. But like, you don't let him talk to the media and then fire him an hour later.
Right, and he was like, "I'm confident I'll be coaching against the 49ers." Yeah. And they're like, "Well, we're tired of hearing you say wrong things to the media."
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
It was the presser is why they fired him, not his coaching performance.
He can't handle. To be fair though, this is the first time the Bears have ever fired a coach midseason. They don't know how to do it. Like, they'll know for next time.
Yeah.
Talk about the glow up for Brown, man. A month ago, like, basically quarterbacks coach, and within a month now he's the head coach.
Coach.
So. Yeah. We'll see if that lasts. If he does too well, then they'll hire somebody else.
Well, I guess not to get too far into this in this podcast, but I guess he's got the kind of characteristics of a head coach, and like he's been talked about in that sense. Like, this is somebody who we could see being a head coach in the league in 5 years.
Right, and I've heard a lot of comps like Mike Tomlin.
Yeah,
and so it'd be nice if we uncovered this little gem right inside of what we got.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so. Back to the regular program.
Muffy and Buffy and Tuffy.
Yeah, so we got Tuffy Rhodes is Muffy's twin sister. But yeah, so that they're starting to draw connections of that hasn't been Muffy. That's been her sister Buffy.
Yeah,
and then
they found like Muffy's clothes burned downstairs.
Yeah, and then they find there was one of the gags earlier of like the eyes cut out of a painting over top of a cat. Well, they come across that painting in the basement, and it's got eyeballs behind it. And when they take it down, it's Muffy's severed head. So now they're like, "Oh, that is Buffy." And as they see that, Buffy then shuts the window that they broke in and nails it shut. So they're trapped in the house. So they head upstairs again, trying to escape. Buffy's chasing them around with a butcher knife. They get separated. Rob ends up like in a pantry,
locked in there,
and Kit is still being chased around by Buffy and kind of backed into like the dining room area, and she's running out of room. Like, and we know from prior, like there's like sliding doors, like Jack and Jill pocket doors that kind of close off like the sitting room. And as Buffy is backing her up, Kit's obviously in a state of panic. She turns around, flies these doors open, and everybody's there.
Yeah, just reading and
being quiet,
very serene,
very quiet. everybody is there.
Yep.
The ferryman, Skip. No, not Skip. The ferryman. No, yeah, Skip's there.
Yeah, Skip's there too.
Yeah, the ferryman, Skip, everyone. Arch, Nan, all of them. Everybody that we've thought to this point were dead. I really liked as like Kit's look of just confusion.
Yeah. And terror at the same time.
And terror. And then cut back to Rob, who everybody starts laughing at Kit.
Mm-hmm.
Rob is still in the pantry thinking that she's being murdered.
Yeah.
So he's like just freaking
beside
out.
himself.
Yeah. As then Buck, who still has the makeup on, steps out of the shadows of the pantry, because apparently it's a giant pantry. And, you know, approach it. And now Rob is in hysterics because Buck is right here. He peels off his makeup, applies it to, you know, Rob's face, unlocks the door. Rob comes sprinting out. He then comes into the room and sees everybody. Everybody's laughing at him now. And just Rob and Kit are just beside themselves. Yeah. Like, what?
Just don't know how to process what's happening.
Yeah. And why would you? Like, you know, you've seen all of this. Well, Muffy then reveals that, I want to thank you guys. This has all been great. You know, let's toast to friendship again. But
toast to friendship.
But the truth is that I can have the mansion if I could demonstrate a way to cover the taxes. Mm-hmm. If I can, you know, show that it can make some money. So I want to do like this bed and breakfast, like horror weekend retreat.
Yeah.
And this is the dress rehearsal for it. You guys have all been great. And basically what was going on is nobody was in on it except for like the ferryman, Buck, and Skip.
Yeah.
And the constable. But as they were being abducted, they were then let in on what's going on. So when we saw Skip in the boathouse, he knew of it anyway, but that was more to tease us. But everybody else that they saw, it was farmed out there as like, this is what's going to happen. And so they all open up bottles of champagne, and Three Dog Nights Mama told me not to come plays.
Little Three Dog Night.
And you know, later that night, Muffy's drunk and heads back to her room. She finds a present on her bed. It's the Jack in the Box. Mm-hmm. She, of course, has memories of that Jack in the Box. So she's kind of cranking it, but doesn't want to because she knows what's going to happen. And then, like, right as it's about to pop, Nan jumps out from behind her and slits her neck. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh, my God, like, there really is a murder. Nope, another April Fool's.
Yep.
You know, that somebody got Muffy this time. And, you know, and Muffy did, in all fairness, was like, I apologize. I went too far on a couple of these. Apparently Nan had a pregnancy gone wrong, and Muffy wasn't aware of it. So the crying baby sound in her room
hit a little close to home.
Struck a nerve that wasn't intended. Mm-hmm. And of course, Nan didn't realize it because she didn't know what was going on. And so we do get one, and I'm certain it's intentional. When Nan at the end slits her throat, and then when Muffy realizes that it's not real, she kisses her on the cheek, and then Nan looks right into the camera.
Yeah.
For just a beat. I think that's intentional.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Because then we cut to the Jack in the Box on the ground, and it just winks at us. So it's like, I think that's the director being like, gotcha, you know, got all of you again. Mm-hmm. So, and that's April Fool's Day, 1986, April Fool's Day.
Yeah, fun movie.
Yeah, I do like this movie.
Yeah, I can understand why, and how this movie's kind of, you know, it's got kind of a cult following amongst horror fans.
And it's, I said, violence-wise, it's very tame.
Very tame.
And I knew it was. I toyed with watching it with my daughter because I'm not worried about the violence. She's seen the Scream movies, like she's good there. But I'm like, this would be a fun little, you know, redirection of a horror film. And then started watching it, and even before the fairy scene was over, I'm like, yeah, I can't watch this. Like when Hal's talking to I can't never remember her name, Nikki. Chaz is talking to Nikki, and they're going through the different nicknames of that Muffy has, and I'm like, yeah, I can't watch that with my kid.
Yeah.
Nah, not watching that. So she can watch it on her own someday. But yeah, April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day. Hey, folks, every week Oz and I come up with our own unique rating for every film we watch. In this case, 1986's April Fool's Day. So, hey, Oz, how would you rate this flick?
I'm going to give this a 9, one for each friend.
One for each friend.
What about you?
I am gonna give this 3 biffs.
Okay.
Why not? 3 biffs.
Yeah. Like from all 3 Back to the Future movies.
Just sure. However you want to interpret that.
I've
3 biffs.
To be fair, I've got an image pulled up right now of Biff from all 3 Back to the Future movies.
Yeah, there you go. Just multiple biffs.
Buford, Biff, and Griff Tannen.
All right, hey folks, again, Oz and I have scoured the interwebs searching for unprofessional reviews that tickle our funny bones, and we hope they tickle yours as well. On our next segment, Outside Insights. Hey Oz, what is your outside insight?
My outside insight comes from Letterboxd. There wasn't a lot on Amazon this week, so this came out October of this year.
Okay,
and it's from Tam7045.
Tam, she related to Nan?
I think so. One of my all-time favorite movies. Great acting. The script was awesome. The ending, what can I say? Hold on tight. Keeps the suspense going through the whole movie. Brings the deaths and the laughs. Would recommend to a lover of straight horror or horror comedy. They don't make them like this one no more. Must watch. 5 stars.
They don't make them like this anymore. A toast to 80s horror.
Yeah.
They don't make them like this anymore.
To be fair, I added my own punctuation when I read.
Okay.
it would read a little different if I left it.
I think that's the beauty of Outside Insights, is that we add our own inflection to things.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like
how we imagine that they were written.
Yeah. I want to respect Tam's, grammar education. I think she was excited to write this review and thought, it's Letterboxd. Who cares about formal grammar?
So, Oxford commas.
Exactly. Who needs periods? Like overrated. So that's my outside insight. What do you got?
I've got 3 I'm going to share, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
They're all from the Internet Movie Database. The first one is a 3 out of 10 from Happy Ending Rocks, left in September of 2011. Okay. You just wasted 88 minutes of your life you'll never get back. The ending of April Fool's Day is not only faulty, it's pretty much insulting. Don't be surprised if you're actually angry when you see this whole thing play out. I mean, no disrespect to the scores of people who have fondness in their hearts for April Fool's Day, as I have plenty of cruddy films I hold in high esteem. But this is my review. And as far as I'm concerned, calling this movie crap is insulting to feces.
People get so angry.
They get so angry. Don't be surprised if you were angry at the end of this movie. I was insulting to feces.
This movie gives crap a bad name.
Next one is also a 3 out of 10, left by John 5000. I think he was a member of Power Man 5000.
I believe so, yeah.
Left in August of 2003. Some guys like to tell jokes. Here's a punchline for you. It's about a bird sent by a visitor to an exotic place to his mother. She ate the bird, and the fella came back and says, "How could you have eaten that bird? It spoke 7 languages." His mother says, "Then he should have said something." I think that's the funniest joke I ever heard. When I tell it, it's not funny. I was taught not to end a story with, "and then I waked up. April Fool's Day is garbage."
And then I waked up.
Nothing about the movie until April Fool's Day is garbage.
Seems like a proper place for my joke.
Yeah, he's workshopping material for his next stand-up act.
Yeah, I want to stay under the radar. I don't want to hit comedy clubs and open mics.
It's like when A-listers hit small clubs to test out material. All right, and then my final one, a 1 out of 10, left by J.J. Parrish in April of 2019. Absolute trash. The only good thing about this was the premise. However, its execution was truly awful. The April Fool's Day jokes were lamer than a man with 2 broken legs. The actors were ugly and wooden. It's really daft. All in all, this is the worst slasher film I've ever seen. And it's only because of the Olsen twins movies that this film is not the worst film of any sort I have ever seen.
So take that, Mary Kate and Ashley.
Burned, Olsen twins.
Just when you didn't think it was coming.
A toast, 2 for 1. Toast to the Olsen twins.
2 for 1 in this review.
So my apologies if that lasted a bit long. Reading off all good. 3, but I couldn't narrow it down. They each had their own charm.
And collectively, they gave it a 7 out of 10.
Collectively, yes. All right, folks, it's that point in the show you've all been waiting for, the Let's Talk About Flicks signature segment, the 3, 2, 1, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about this week's movie, April Fool's Day. Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first one is I like that they tried something new.
Yes.
Slasher films in the 80s, as enjoyable as they are, and as known for the decades known for them as it is, they were very one-note formulaic. And so this movie did try something different. And they almost laid it right out there in front of you. They called the movie April Fool's Day. They said it to come out April Fool's Day weekend. So, I think some of it is those people that are angry afterwards are almost like, it's because you got punked. The movie it's full of April Fool's jokes. So then at the end,
what did you expect?
At the end of it, when they wink at the camera and be like, guys, it was all just a big joke. And the people are, oh, that's not how I like my slashers. Because this isn't your horror movie. And so I really respect that they tried to do something different and new. And for me, it worked. I appreciate that effort and I liked it. My second one is to kind of partner with that. I liked the extensive gag sequence.
Sure.
That also gave us a little bit of insight to each character, or at least couple of character dynamics. We got a little bit of the Kit and Rob when they're still struggling with the medical, the medical school conversation, and he tries to turn the lights off, and every time he flips the switch, another one turns on. So that was just, and then she just laughs at it. It's just, that's kind of fun. We get the, Arch sits down in a chair and then it collapses underneath it. And it's just fun to see each of them, on their own kind of get pushed to their limit. And just to show that it's nobody's safe in this movie. And so I like that extensive gag sequence. A lot of times movies will fill time with things that are inconsequential. And I thought this did a good job of stretching the runtime, filling some empty space, but with something that was still novel and to the idea of the movie.
There's not a lot of whoopee cushions in horror movies.
No, and used effectively and correctly. This was just gotcha, and my third one, this is a little selfish, but I have always had a crush on Deborah Goodrich. I think she played Nikki. Big fan of Nikki. She's not in a ton of stuff, but Just One of the Guys was another one of those heavy rotation movies for me. Coincidentally enough, also starring the guy who plays Chaz. And this one, that movie I watched way more than I should have watched as a youngster. But I think it's got a great message, a fun story, and it helped that Deborah Goodrich is in that one too. So big fan of Nikki. I think she is, at least, I of course don't know her now, but in that era was one that was I kind of like watching her on film. So that's my third good. What do you got?
Let's start with I'm just going to simply start with how Muffy describes Arch. There was something about a line she said that was just tickled my funny bone. Arch has only 2 expressions: collar up and collar down.
And she, I think she said that, was it to Nikki?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And Nikki's like, yep. And I'm just like, I don't know what you mean. But yeah, it's fair enough. But yeah, I did like that.
Yeah, I just like that character description. I thought I don't know, it was so apropos, and it really captured Arch, and I think that's
absolutely,
you could capture a lot of young men in this generation as well.
Yes.
Let's see, for my second one, Deborah Foreman was great.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, she really, I think, stole the movie as Muffy / Buffy. Her this movie would not have worked as well as it did without her kind of being just over the top enough.
Yeah.
Like not to the point that she was like he hawing it up, but it was just enough. So I just kudos to her performance for kind of tying things together. And my last one is just, I love the Kit character. Like, just she's a peacekeeper. She's supportive.
I love she really is.
Yeah, like she was just unconditional positive regard for Rob. Just she didn't let a whole lot get to her. She kept her head for the most part up until right at the end, which I think anybody would have that reasonable reaction.
Yes, of course.
I also loved her look, like the short tie and the untucked shirt. Like, there was so much to like about the Kit character.
Avril Lavigne's a big fan of this movie. It's like, I bet she's into Skater Boys.
That was Rob before med school. He was a skater
boy.
Yeah.
That's why he wasn't serious when he rode his deck to his advisor meeting.
He did a sweet ollie on his way.
It's Rob. We don't need any more kick flips. Can you just come into your meeting, please? Sorry, bro.
Don't need to grind the rail.
He was Tony Hawk before Tony.
Yeah, he was. So Kit just overall is my third and final good. Hey, Oz, what are your two bads?
My first one, and I think this is stating the obvious, that everything had to work for this plan.
Yes.
Everything. And it's just it was that, Muffy playing master level chess, to everything. Of just knowing who was going to go into what room, at what time they're going to go into what room, like just all of that, knowing that, they're going to go down this path in the woods, or they're going to do this, or they're going to, knowing that really Skip was the only one that was in on it. By the way, I forgot to mention that, Muffy does have a twin, and it's Skip.
Yeah.
But even then, the precursor of how many years was Skip playing her cousin? Yeah. Because they all knew Skip.
That's true.
As her cousin.
This was a long run bit. This was leading up to it.
And so just for all of this, to go the way that it went, knowing that we have to get Buck in the water. But of course, Skip was aware, because Skip was part of the fake knife thing. But how did Arch know that? So it's like, there's just, you don't want to pull on the thread of this movie too much.
Yep. Muffy was great at anticipating things.
She's really good. She's an X-Men, actually. X-Men, to tell you the truth.
What was that? The character Destiny. She's a precog.
Yeah, she's a future. Exactly. And so, that was my first bad. And it's nitpicky, but it's like,
sure.
Yeah, don't tug at the
a lot of
threads.
Suspension of disbelief for this one.
Because everything, like, knowing that somebody's going to go for these cigars.
Yeah.
And so just all of that, knowing that they're going to come back to the basement, my second one is early on, and it is what it is, but early on, it felt like everybody was trying to vie for that top performer spot before they all kind of settled into their roles. I don't know if they filmed it chronologically, but it felt like for a group of people who, with the exception of Hal and Nan, are all friends. They all know each other. It just felt like a lot of, especially the guys were like jockeying for position of who's going to be the most macho or the most. And it's like, but you guys all know each other. Like, you don't have to do this measuring contest every time you see each other. And so that, again, it settled itself pretty much after the Buck incident and everybody fell in line. But especially on the ferry, it just felt like everybody's trying to have the best joke and have the best, and it just early on specifically, but it did resolve itself as the movie went on. So that's my second bad. What do you got?
For mine, I'm going to build off of your second one and just kind of be a little more specific with a couple of things that stood out to me. The first one is like, and I had these separate. I'm going to tie them together. Yeah. Homoeroticism for laughs.
Yes.
As well as like just some of the the misogyny and like the males feeling entitled to sex from the female characters.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here. I'm going to have sex with somebody.
Right. Yeah. It's just like at one point, Arch is walking around door to, like, he goes to Muffy's room and he tries to lay it on, and she's just like, "Good night, Arch." Yep. And then he turns around and collects himself, like, "Okay, who's next?" Like, it's gross. It's gross.
It's gross.
It's gross.
Yeah. So like that's my first bad, is just feeling like males feeling entitled to sex. I'm here, gonna have sex with somebody.
Right. It's going to solve itself.
And my second one, I'm a big, there's a Gorillaz song from just a couple of years ago called Cracker Island. Okay. Really fun song. And I bring that up because I think that could be an alternate name for this movie. A lot of white people. There are a lot of white people. There's no racial or ethnic diversity here at all.
No, I think that helps the film, because if you did have a black person in this movie, they would have been the first to die, especially in the 80s. I'm saying this all tongue in cheek, of course, but as an 80s film, they would have been the first one to perish.
Probably.
And then what do you do with Skip? Like, like somebody's offended because like the whole group is all like Muffy is mortified when Hal shows up and brings his black girlfriend. And it completely throws a wrinkle in all of her plans. Well, Skip was supposed to be the first to go, but she's black. She has to die first.
This is an 80s horror film.
Oh, what are we going to do?
I'm in a tight spot.
Plus, we're up in like Massachusetts, which is not exactly the most forward thinking.
Yeah, coastal Massachusetts.
It's stereotypically, I should say. I've never been there, but Boston doesn't exactly get the best rap. So
Try being a minority outfielder from the opposing team.
Yes,
at Fenway.
And so it's just that would have been kind of a fun little wrinkle, especially if, as seems to be in a lot of horror films, like. Especially like that black character is the voice of reason.
Yeah.
To where like Hal brings his black girlfriend, she shows up and just shoots holes in this entire plan. That would have been comical, but
we're not splitting up.
Yeah, no. They'll come back, guys. Let's not go look for them. This seems dangerous.
Did you see a body?
Right. Show me.
Yeah. Voice of reason. So it's Cracker Island. Even all the names are like stereotypical white names.
Yeah.
Like the one syllable, 3 or 4 letters.
Yeah.
Kit, Arch, Rob.
Nikki,
Muffy,
Hal. Yeah. Nan. It's like you name her Nan and then make her the most grandmotherly person in this cast.
Yeah.
She's wearing a cardigan and a long skirt, and
she's offering everyone hard candy.
Exactly.
Where there's
she's got a tissue up her sleeve.
Cry right here, love.
Right, yeah.
All right, so those are my 2 bads. Oz, what's your
how much time did Muffy spend getting the pranks for this weekend ready?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did she leave? Did her break at Vassar start early than everyone else? Like,
took her finals early.
Like Muffy was very busy, like getting and like. Did the constable have nothing else going on? Like
there was nothing to constable.
Right. It's like just to spend the inordinate amount of time, getting everything lined up, because again, much like the movie Cabin in the Woods, it's like. There's alternative plan. Like, how many pranks were set up that weren't set off?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like a death trap.
How many other hunters' nooses are lying
exactly
around?
Yeah, it's like what, and so there's just that's my Hans. How much time was spent getting all of this prepared?
That was her entire spring break.
That was it. Like, that was
just tying nooses in the forest.
Took a sabbatical from Vassar. So what do you got for yours?
We should take all of her classes online.
That's true. Yeah. She is rich. So.
Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier. Like they were joking around earlier. What is Muffy short for? So that is my actual What is Muffy short for?
Buffy wasn't real, but it's like, but yeah, Muffy and Skip are twins. Okay.
Mufford, Skipford.
And why? I did read that there was like an alternative ending to this, that Skip actually came back at the end and murdered Muffy in an effort to get part of that inheritance. Maybe that's another of mine is why was Skip left out of all of this inheritance? Like, I'm going to get the mansion, you play my cousin.
And he's just cool with it.
Yeah, he's like, I think it's a great idea. Let's do it.
As long as I get some attention.
Yeah. Do you think it's short for Mumford?
Mumford?
Yeah.
She went on to form Mumford and Sons.
Right. It was her kids. her illegitimate children from all of these weekends of horror. Somebody's got to be the starlet.
Yeah.
Oh, so that, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up April Fool's Day.
That's April Fool's Day.
We've mentioned it before. We both really enjoy debuting a film for the other.
Yes, yes, we do.
So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I am. So it's a fun little, it's just such a simple, you pay attention, but it's not like you're not locked in. It's just, I don't know. It's just a simple fun movie. Yeah, it's like a dish of pudding. Like it's not going to be bad, but it's like it's not going to change your life either. It's just like, oh, that's a fun alternative to what 80s slasher movies usually are.
I think that was also Nan's personality.
Pudding.
Dish of pudding.
Dish of pudding. Yeah. Vanilla.
I think that was the finishing move of what was it? Duggan and what was
Duggan and
was it Duggan and Gore or whatever?
No,
Tor. Duggan and Tor. Yeah, dish of pudding was their finisher.
The dish of pudding.
The dish of pudding. Oh my God! He's on the top rope. Here comes the dish of pudding.
Here comes their signature move, the dish of pudding.
Nobody gets up from that. Let me tell you, Gene.
Oh, I love that era of wrestling.
Yeah. Dish of pudding.
I've really enjoyed I just catch it as shorts on YouTube, but like Undertaker does like a lot of sit down podcast interviews.
Yes, yeah.
And I enjoy listening to him because he's just wide open about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like none of it is nefarious. It's all respectful to the people that deserve it.
But he's still honest though.
Yeah, exactly. He's honest. But and I think because it's Taker, like I never heard of any like backstage beef ever involving him. So I think that he just has that level of respect from the industry too, and from the fans.
Yeah, he kind of seemed like that kind of like locker room enforcer.
Yeah,
like a lot of people in the industry really look to him,
which
as a beacon of strength and kind of even like morality in some ways.
Yeah,
within the industry at least.
Yeah, because he did it the right way. Like it was fun to watch. But yeah, seeing him sit down with like a Booker T and it's just fun to just listen to those guys go on. But a lot of those guys we grew up with are getting old.
Yeah, they are.
And professional wrestling is not kind to your body.
Nope.
So when you're seeing like Jake the Snake sit down, you're like, oh, poor Jake.
Yeah.
But hey, the fact that you're still alive is pretty cool though, because high mortality rate in that industry.
Yeah. A toast to Jake the Snake, rather.
A toast to Jake the Snake.
Toast to Jake the Snake.
To Damien. Oh, what movie do you have next week for holiday horror?
Next week we've got a really fun one. So we're going back a couple of months from April 1st to February 14th, and we're gonna travel back to 1981 and watch My Bloody Valentine.
Such a good movie.
Such a fun movie.
Yeah. And it's in that like early slasher stuff. Like Nightmare on Elm Street isn't a thing yet. Friday the 13th only has like maybe one, possibly two out.
There's nothing supernatural about this.
Yeah. It's just, and so this is one of those, I don't think it gets enough credit as kind of laying a blueprint for horror, for the slasher.
I know Tarantino cites this as one of his favorite slasher movies of all time.
Oh, it's a great film. And you care about the characters. You really feel like you get a sense for the community in this film. And it's gory as get out, which is kind of fun. Just when you can add emotion to a film and still get some gore out of it without just doing it for gore's sake.
Yeah.
We're not there yet in the 80s where it's just let's just throw blood on the floor and see what happens.
Yeah.
But, so it is nice that there were still story-driven horror films.
Yeah. Also,
as opposed to just some maniac on the loose.
Also begat the name of one of my favorite bands of the last 40 years as well, My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah. I haven't listened to My Bloody Valentine in a while.
Oh, good stuff. Really good stuff.
Oh,
I guess they're doing their first live show in years somewhere over in Great Britain.
Of course it's over there. So
yeah. Why can't they play Rockford?
Right. Yeah, exactly. What's wrong with Springfield?
Freeport's nice this time of the year.
Right. Yeah. I don't think anybody's rented out our park district building in a bit.
It's got a kitchen and everything.
It's got real nice acoustics.
So looking forward to talking about My Bloody Valentine next week.
Yes, for sure. Social media wise, you guys can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. YouTube Shorts, the Facebook Shorts. We're building that. We're getting those views. Like it's kind of hammering there.
Yeah.
But it's fun. We're getting like new subscribers popping up, and
that's great.
I'm glad we jumped in on the the shorts.
Yes,
we joined the current generation. Decided that short form video is the way to go.
Expands the reach, my friend.
Yeah, we like putting those vines out. Oh, Patreon link, guys, if you want to hear more of our commentary and some other stuff. We need to get caught up on that. We're a couple months behind, but easily done. So, for another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
We'll see you guys next week with My Bloody Valentine.